he comes down, he says, the world's on fire, which it wasn't. Immigration has been relatively flat over the past 30 years. Crime has been crime is down, way down over the past
Right.
20 years. So it was all lies.
Right.
And he was just trying to get people motivated. And I'll go right to the fucking gut punch of this, okay?
My next guest is a candidate for the United States Congress running to represent the people of Hillsborough and Manatee counties in Florida's 16th congressional district. He's a veteran, a husband, a dad, and a small business owner who spent his life working hard and standing up for what's right. Yeah. Mark served 8 years in the United States Air Force, where he learned the values of discipline, service, and putting others first. After his military service, he spent 16 years in corporate America. My condolences. Leading high-stakes operations for one of the nation's largest retailers, solving problems, building teams, and getting results. Today he lives in Parrish, Florida with his wife Sarah, his high school sweetheart, and their 2 kids. Like so many Florida families, Marcus felt the squeeze of rising prices and flat wages firsthand, and like so many Americans, he grew tired of watching American politicians score political points instead of solving real problems, so he decided to do something about it. In less than a year, Mark's campaign has grown from a simple message of truth into a movement followed by more than 200,000 people across the country. I'm one of them. What started as one voice refusing to stay quiet has become a community of Americans, veterans, teachers, parents, and small business owners, and podcasters who believe that courage, honesty, and compassion still belong in our politics. Mark is running on a platform of protecting American freedom, fighting for working people, and doing better for veterans, putting truth over politics. So he's not here to climb the political ladder, and if you follow his Facebook, you will realize that quickly. He's here to lift people up. His campaign is leading with truth, courage, and love, and people are responding. So please welcome to the show, Mark. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Well, I think your content cracks me up. I'm usually the most ridiculous person I know on Facebook, but you have taken that title from me. You grabbed it and ran down the field vicariously. So, and I love that because I think that we're all just sick of these non-answers and people speaking in circles. Like, we're all just screaming at the television half the time anybody speaks. It's like, we're even seeing them say yes or no, and they can't even do that, right? So I appreciate your forthrightness. What was the moment, right? Because, I love your corporate background, and I think a lot of people were like, oh, well, Trump could be good because his business background, but he was never really actually good at any business. But being in corporate America, I think, is closer. Surviving and succeeding, thriving in corporate America is probably a lot like surviving and thriving in the government, to be honest. It's a lot of things that don't make sense. So what was the moment for you that you were like, I'm going to do this. I'm running for Congress.
I'm not a politician. I'm just literally just a pissed off father in the middle of red Florida. And, I've been down here for about 4 years, and I'm a Democrat. I've always voted Democrat, but I'm a registered NPA, no party affiliate. So that's what I'm running as. So I'm not going to have to answer to Democrats. I'm not going to have to answer to Republicans. I just answer to the people in my district, and that's it. I don't take money from corporate PACs or anything like that. So, but yeah, back to your question. What got me started? I'll tell you, it was Trump 2.0, and I've been an anti-Trumper since he came down the escalator. And like you mentioned, I've been in business, and I can see that type of business, and how evil it is and how manipulative it is. And I recognized it because I'll tell you the truth. In corporate America, I did some of the same shit he did, right? I would lie to vendors. I would do this and that to try to get an advantage, and that may have been, this is debatable, but that may be the right way to run a company, but that's not how you run a country, right? And because I worked for Menards, and Menards was it's like this huge home improvement center. It's like a Home Depot in the Midwest, and there's like 300 stores. And I worked for corporate, and I was in charge of like a $1.3 billion category. So I didn't work in the stores. I worked at the corporate level, and sat across from the owner, John Menard. So I've been at the higher ranks of this all, and I can see, what happens behind those closed doors and what people talk about behind those closed doors and what goes on in boardrooms, and it's disgusting, right? I had to make a living. I had to supply a house and food for my family, but I didn't love what I was doing. But I saw the sickness in business, and that sickness came down that escalator like 10, 11 years ago, and I could see the bullshit. He started saying stuff about immigration being out of control and that violent crime was out of control, and it was all bullshit. We just came off of Obama, where we were semi-united. I'm not saying Obama was perfect, but we were semi-united. We were in the right trajectory. The Republicans like to say that the economy wasn't recovering fast enough or whatever that bullshit was, but we had record months of economic growth. Right. So anyway, he comes down. He says the world's on fire, which it wasn't. Immigration has been relatively flat over the past 30 years. Crime has been crime is down, way down over the past 20 years. So it was all lies, and he was just trying to get people motivated. And I'll go right to the fucking gut punch of this. Okay, I saw Hitler. I saw Nazi Hitler when he was saying that crap, right? Because Hitler was the same type of moron. He didn't have anything to stand on. All he did was hate Jews, right? And he was able to get a whole country around hating Jews because they just failed big time in World War I. That's the only reason that fucking mess happened. And then he comes in when our country is doing well, and then says it's on fire, and now we're supposed to put all of our chips in the hands of one man? You're out of your mind. So 10 years ago, I knew this was a disaster to begin with. But I did my thing. I raised my family, and I moved down to Florida about 4 years ago. And that was right before Trump 2.0 took office. And I never thought in my life that Trump was going to win again, And I moved down here to be closer to my parents. My parents are down here, so my kids can be closer to their grandparents. And, they're full-blown MAGA, but I never thought it'd be an issue because Donald Trump ain't going to win. He just tried to steal the election. He's a 34-time felon, and he got charged with sexual assault. It's over. The Republican Party's never going to win again. They can't. And then they freaking win again.
And then they did, yeah.
And I'm sitting here in the middle of red Florida thinking, what the hell just happened? And then you walk around this neighborhood, and all these people that had MAGA flags all of a sudden feel like, they were on the right side of history. And so they're walking around, thinking that their agenda is being pushed forward. And I'm sitting here thinking, no, this guy is wildly unpopular. I felt it when he got shot in the fucking ear or whatever.
Yeah.
That I knew right then he was going to win. He's going to play that fucking sympathy thing, And I said it then. When he got shot in the fucking ear, I said we were 1 inch from fucking freedom on that day.
Oh, man.
1 inch from freedom.
Yeah.
But anyway, that guy fucking won. And so here we are. And like I said, I'm just a pissed off dad in the middle of red Florida. And the moment that I saw, and when Trump 2.0 won, I gave it the benefit of the doubt. My parents are MAGA. They said this, it's going to be great. So I kind of just shut the hell up for a little bit and just watched the news. And then Donald Trump gets in the Oval Office with Zelensky and completely embarrasses him, tells him, why aren't you wearing a suit when the guy is fighting for fucking democracy against a tyrannical leader like Putin? Putin is our enemy, and this guy is fighting our enemy, and they're making fun of him. And I knew right then that sickness was in our Oval Office, that Donald Trump was unleashed, that there was no adults in the room, that this country was a joke from that minute, period, right? And I couldn't live under that fascism. I can't, I just wasn't born that way. None of us were born that way, right?
Yeah.
To live under the rule of one person. Yeah, we had presidents, but we always knew that the president was weak. And we wanted the president to be weak. Right? We knew that we could cite whatever we wanted about that president, and we would never get in trouble, right? Or we could have whatever opinion we wanted, and that's the beautiful thing, that the citizens hold all the fucking power. What happened to that? Now we're giving up power to one man? That's what Nazi Germany did. And that's how they fucking destroyed their country. So I stood up right then, and I noticed the patterns early, that the fascism was marching in, and I said no. And I said, I'm not going to put up with this bullshit. So I said, no, I live right in the middle of red Florida. I fucking hate Donald Trump. I'll scream it in my backyard. All my neighbors pretend that they love MAGA. They just don't understand that there is a different opinion out there because everybody around here lives in this little dome, right? And I'm inside this dome just fucking raising hell. And they can't get out of it. They can't get out of my, like, I turned their dome into my fucking echo chamber, right?
I love it.
I'm all over the internet.
Right.
I'm all over the county. I'm talking to people all the time. I have my own podcast now. Like I can start a news cycle at the beginning of the day, and then I can catch it at the end of the day. Like I own the whole fucking message, right?
Right.
And now all these people, I'm just like fucking. I got them in my cage, and I'm just fucking rattling the cage until they start fucking listening to me. Well, I don't care. And I don't care if you like me. You don't have to like me, right? I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Just listen to what I'm saying. I am a pissed off middle-class father that is getting screwed, that is seeing the country getting screwed, that is seeing these large corporations get these tariff refunds when those should be going to the people. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And I'm not political. I am just normal. And I'm pissed.
Listen, I could dig it. I was supposed to be a stand-up comedian. Now I got a political podcast. You know what I mean? Sometimes the universe directs us differently. Well, I want to say thank you for acknowledging the corporate stuff because, my path was similar. I was in real estate finance. And, you don't know. You work your way up, and then you see how rotten it is. We wouldn't have gotten in if we had known. But that's how the system is built. They get you so far deep in it that it's like to walk away from it, now you lose your income and your family. It's all by design. It's all by design, right?
Then you have like a $300,000 home, and you got to pay your mortgage. Then you're
right. And people are like, "Oh, poor baby," but you're like, "No, your whole paycheck comes in, it goes right back out." There's no. And so I really respect that you acknowledge that because I think white people need to do more of that, to be honest, right? Acknowledge what's really, really happening, right? And the MAGA thing is very similar to the corporate. They're so far deep into it. It's like they're in such a cult. My dad's one of them. He hasn't spoken to me in 3 months, And I'm like, you're really going to lose your daughter over Fox News, over dudes who wear makeup on fucking TV? I'm so angry about the whole thing. So, trust me, I get it, man. I get it. You know what I mean? And obviously other people resonate because you've grown to 200,000 followers in less than a year, and people can't figure that out, right? That's a hard thing to do, but you're just being really honest, and I think it's the elephant. I saw a reel this morning and said, why do we discredit the elephant in the room? You know how hard it was for that elephant to get in the room? What door did they use, right? And it's it's the same thing. You're the 200,000 followers is no joke, and it's growing daily. I mean, your content reached me. I'm in Costa Rica, for crying out loud, right? How the hell did that happen? So, and let's talk about your parents. Have they started to shift a little bit with your campaign?
So I thought they did, but they come to find out they actually didn't. Yeah, and I kicked them out of my life, about 11 months ago, and I said, listen, I'm noticing patterns. I'm concerned. My mother even told my daughter that she doesn't have to listen to me about politics, but I didn't really even talk about politics, and we're starting to see patterns that they're turning into fascist. So that just bothered me, right? And now the sickness is in my family. So I don't want my kids to be influenced by this MAGA bullshit. Right. I don't want to be bothered by this MAGA bullshit. I feel better now that they're not in my life, to be honest. I'm sorry that they are so freaking confused right now that they, like you said, would much rather watch all these makeup people on Fox News that are millionaires tell them about how bad their icon is,
right. It's weird. Well, I'm sorry, because that's a special kind of pain. It sucks, but I know it's also fuel. It's fuel for what you're doing. Well, let's talk a little bit about vets, because you are a veteran yourself, and I'm sure that you have a lot of thoughts about how vets are being treated and what's happening. What do you think Congress is getting the most wrong right now when it comes to vets?
Oh, I could talk about that all day. But one of the big things that I'm running on is our veterans when they get home, that we don't take care of them, right? And the big thing that I struggle with in the military specifically, and I saw this in the military, is mental health. And a lot of these military individuals, rightfully so, are proud people, right? And in the locker rooms and in the showers or whatever, it's kind of looked down upon, if you need to get mental health in the military, especially with like fighter pilots or any type of pilot or any type of like high stressful position. Because if they have to go see a mental health, then that goes on the record, and then they may not even be able to be a pilot anymore. So like we need to get rid of that.
Which is crazy. Like they need it the most.
Right.
So,
like
at least, yeah.
Have you ever I've been an open book on this campaign, and that's my whole thing. Like I've struggled with mental health, and I've taken mental health drugs, and I've talked to people, and it helped me, right? And like we, in my opinion, when our servicemen and women come home from overseas or an area that is in war or some sort of event, then they need to go to see mental health. They have to be like it has to be it has to be part of the process, right? Like don't just wait for them to come see. Like force them to go see. You just went to war. You just saw people die. You just saw the worst of the worst. You're away from your family. There's confusion, especially in Iran now, when a lot of those servicemen and women don't even know why they're there, And then they come back home and they get made fun of if they go see somebody and then they kill themselves. Like this whole country just needs to reevaluate mental health and start thinking of it as something that we need to champion and get behind. And make sure that there's funding there. So in my opinion, you reduce the defense budget. And I don't want to say that off the cuff, like I want to actually look into it, but I cannot imagine that there is a reason to spend $1 trillion every single year on our military. I mean, I remember walking into, and this is a small example, and I was an enlisted individual in the Air Force, but I remember walking in to these big buildings, that had all these boots and clothes and all that, and you would just go shopping, like it's all free. I want 5 pairs of those boots, I want 3 of those jackets, I want those socks, and then you take it home, you never wear them, and it's yours. But I'm just saying, like, there's so much waste in the military, that we just really need to look at that, and we need to pay our military folks better. And we need to make sure that we take care of our veterans when they come home. I don't think the military's ever passed an audit. A fiscal audit. We have no idea where that money is going to that we're funneling into, and they go to defense contractors. And then these defense contractors get uber rich. Seriously look at the defense budget and move some of that money to take care of our veterans when they come home.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, especially as a daughter of a two-term Vietnam vet, like I could definitely say mental health matters impacted my family greatly, right? Like not just the physical impacts of being exposed to nerve agents in my life, but like the impact that the lack of mental health services. My father's spoken about Vietnam like 5 times, and I was there for 3 of them. Right, like he doesn't talk about that stuff, In fact, when he left Vietnam, his first tour of being a swift boat captain, he was at the Admiral's Club or whatever, and he was going to be leaving the next day, and it was like planes, trains, and automobiles. He was going to have to go through Cambodia. It was going to take like 2 days to get home. And one of the guys said, "Hey, there's a plane going out with the soldiers. If you want to get on that, you can be home in the morning, but you got to ride in the belly of the plane." And my dad said, "Sure." Well, the belly of the plane was full of caskets. And my dad said he'll never forget the look on the face when they opened up that big bay door and he came walking out, because they, the guys on the ground didn't expect anybody to walk out of the cabin full of caskets, right? So that was and then he came home and he had a newborn baby, right? Right, so it's like, I mean, my family really kind of never stood a chance, right? And there was never any, you know what I mean? There was never any acknowledgement of that, right? There was never even an acknowledgement of the issues that I was dealt with physically because of it, right? But then we have all this money for, drones and bombs and things like that, but the people that are, like, actually doing it, right? And I have a lot of empathy for my dad, Swift boat captain. You know how many men died on his watch in those little boats in Vietnam? You know what I mean? My dad was a young man. He came home, he was a completely different person. His whole life was stolen from him, So as angry as I am at him sometimes, I also have a tremendous amount of empathy because it's like, it's not his fault. You know what I mean? It's not his fault.
Imagine if you're over there and, and you're struggling, right? And I would almost say, like, we're all human. We're all 99% the same, right? We're all so things happen to us and we all process it almost identically. Some people might say that they don't process it the same or whatever. But what if it's mandatory? When you come home, it's mandatory that you see somebody. It takes that whole pressure, that whole stigma off of it. Like, you have to see somebody, and it would be so comforting. Like, it would put like a warm feeling in your soul, that yes, when I get home, somebody's going to listen to what I have to say. I don't necessarily have to tell my parents, but I can tell somebody, I don't know. It just, like, we're just so backwards. And then we wonder why all these veterans are committing suicide and why they're not,
It's heartbreaking, and it's only going to get worse because we have an active war going on right now. These guys are going to come home from Iran all banged up. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a matter of time. Well, let's talk about, you have 4 pillars that your campaign is built around, and that's protecting American freedom, fighting for working people, doing better for veterans, and putting truth over politics. So what does that look like in practice? Aside, we just talked about the veterans, but what does that actually look like? What are you telling your constituents will happen if you get into office?
Yeah. So I have three of my top priorities is what I always tell people. And these are my priorities, and this is what I think the Democrat Party priority should be. I think it's what the progressive priority should be. But number one is accountability. I don't want anybody in office that isn't willing to impeach Donald Trump. And I don't care how silly that sounds. I know he's already been impeached twice, but we got to get him the hell out of there. Yeah. We can't last 2 more years with this jerk in office. So he has to be kicked out of office. Like, that is number one priority. It has to freaking happen. So impeachment. Day one is accountability. And that means accountability for Donald Trump. That means accountability for J.D. Vance. That means accountability for the entire administration. And I would even throw Elon Musk in there.
Facts.
Right? Like, we can't ignore the atrocities that these people are doing to our country.
Peter Thiel and the other guy too. He can go. The Palantir guy too. All 3 of those guys go in the same.
Yeah, and then number 2 is healthcare. I'm a huge proponent of single-payer healthcare. It's going to be on my yard sign, but we need healthcare, and we need to show that to the American people that we are there for the middle class. Because this past 10 years has been pointed all towards billionaires. And we're fucking sick of it, right? Yeah, we got our tariff money right now going to corporations instead of the people. We have Donald Trump that is suing the IRS for $10 billion when he's already made $10 billion being president this term. So, I mean, we have to start pointing that needle back at the middle class. And the only way that you're going to get the respect of the people in this country again is if you give them fucking health care.
Yep.
Got to give them health care. And then number 3... is lower prices. And Donald Trump ran on lowering prices. And I knew from day one that this idiot could not lower prices because I am a retail executive and that's not how it fucking works.
Right. You don't just tell them lower your prices.
And then you don't go through and insert pricing pressure points into the system when you're trying to lower prices. He put tariffs in place. He caused a whole trade war. That's not lowering prices. And then the value of the dollar is plummeting at the same time.
Daily.
So now our dollar is worth less. Like, how do you... So what did he do? He didn't only not lower prices, he actually increased the rate of inflation. So inflation was like around 3% when he came into office. and it's about 5% right now. So he didn't only not lower prices, he increased prices at a higher rate than what Biden was doing. I honestly think that if we put some common sense rules into place, that we can literally lower prices after this mess. Like, I mean, we start removing these stupid tariffs, that number one will help. We start getting better trade deal, like we start improving our relationship around the world. And yes, like people don't understand, especially here in Florida, and this is what's so frustrating about living right here in Florida, right? That they're like MAGA, America first, like fuck everybody else. Florida relies on tourism.
Right.
If you fuck up your domestic policies, people don't want to visit your country. And that's what's happening, especially Canada. You know how many people used to come down from Canada to Florida every year? I mean, they built, what is that? What's that Canadian coffee, Tom Thornton's or something? They built a Tom Thornton's here because so many freaking Canadians come down here.
Right.
They don't come. They haven't come for the past 2 years. There's so many houses for sale that are sitting there that Canadians are trying to sell because Donald Trump said he wanted to take over Canada.
Right, so they're not going to come hang out with us. Yeah, I mean, well, and I know because there's more Canadians in Costa Rica this year. They skipped right over Florida and this direct flight to Costa Rica, like.
Yeah. People just don't understand that. Like, you love it or hate it, but we live in a world and it's connected, and that ain't going anywhere. And who has benefited the most from a connected world?
Right.
America.
Right.
We are, now we're $40 trillion in debt, and that's because of all the loopholes with billionaires not paying their taxes, but so we're not doing it right. But we were still able to bring in a shit ton of revenue because of it. We just started giving it all to billionaires is the problem.
Yeah, and our passport meant something. Like, I didn't realize that as much. Call me a privileged white person, but I never really thought about it until I moved to Costa Rica. But, like, the American passport and, like, our ability to travel around the world freely. Like, if you have a Costa Rican passport, you got to get like, not all passports are viewed equally. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody can move around the world freely. I had no idea, right? How would I know? But I have Tico friends here that have to spend, like, $1,000 and go to San Jose 3 times and submit for a visa and prove and have people sponsor them just to go to the United States for a vacation, right? Like, we really take for granted, and like that's slipping away very quickly. There's a lot of people who are like, yeah, no thanks, Americans, like, you idiots, you know what I mean, stay away from us. And that's only going to get worse, right? Like, that American visa or passport or ability to roam freely is going to disappear very quickly, and it's our own fault.
Yeah, it's scary because I don't know if you saw, but Canadian's Prime Minister, Mark Carney, it wasn't an interview, I think it was just like an address to the nation, and he's basically saying, like, Canada's done with the United States, we're moving on. He's like, it doesn't make sense just to wait it out and see if they change their mind. Like, we're done, and we're going to get more with the EU, we're going to trade with the EU now.
Right. And why wouldn't they? That's just good business,
yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, business is business, right? You know what I mean? Like, we just need ethical business. So you're in a very, 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 very red district, Do you think that this race is winnable?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because I'm passionate, right? And in my opinion, I look at it differently than everybody else. Like, you would hate to be an advisor on my campaign because I probably won't listen to you. Like, I got this mindset that I'm doing, and I'm just doing it, right? And you can call me stupid, you can say I'm doing it wrong, but the proof is in the pudding. Like, I know it's not just followers online, but I'm doing events and people are coming out, and I'm getting signatures, and I'm getting money, and we're doing this differently than anybody else in the country.
Good.
Right? But what I'm doing is getting the people, and I'm taking a big bet, right, that I'm pretty freaking normal is my bet, and that what I think is probably pretty damn close to what the general public is thinking, right?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe. So I just say it. Whatever I think, I just say it, and it's relating, and people are grabbing onto it. And my goal isn't necessarily to turn Republicans out to vote for me. My goal is to get people that are excited about my campaign to come out and vote for me. And I'm guessing that the Republicans, if they don't like me, I'm sure some of them will. I've already got a few of them to flip, but I'm sure some of them will. But if they don't like me, what do they have? Like, why do they have a reason to get off the couch? Like, what are they going to go vote for?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they're going to show up and vote. Like, you're going to go
just
vote
to
for
spite you or whatever, right?
Right. Like, are you going to go vote for like this isn't the presidential election. A lot of people don't vote for midterms.
Right.
You know, like you have to be motivated to get your butt up and go vote for midterms. How are Republicans going to be motivated? Are you going to go vote for higher taxes? You know, are you going to go vote for inflation? You're going to vote for war? You're going to vote for corruption? You're going to vote for pedophilia? Like, what on your Republican agenda right now are you guys excited about? And the funny thing is, in Florida, what they're trying to get the Republicans excited about is nature, is the environment. So a lot of the Republicans now are switching over to like anti-environmental issues. Like, you know, we don't want the ports to be built because that's going to hurt the environment. So now they're starting to pretend that they care about the environment. When for the past 25 years in Florida, they have given two shits about the environment here. Okay? The Republicans do not care about the environment, period, especially under this Trump regime. So, but that's interesting that they're starting to switch over to there. So, in my opinion, they're already leaving the Trump train. So.
Well, yeah, because it's like that's a safe topic. They'll get more people. They can avoid the difficult stuff if they just talk about. You know what I mean? It's a cop out. It's an important cop out. You know what I mean? So, so let's what is the most important thing that you want people to know after listening to this? How can they like support you in this movement, or what do you want them to know, even if it's not supporting you? What do you want them to know?
Just know that this is it, you know, in my opinion, that this is, if we don't flip, and it doesn't like I want to win. I think I know I'm the right person, just because I'm amped up and I'm passionate, and I think you should put passionate people into Congress. I don't think having 20 or 30 years of experience is necessarily a good thing, because once you've been in Congress for 20 or 30 years, you're kind of guarded from the policies that you put in place.
You're corrupted. You're bought. You're corrupted at that point.
Like me and you, we're the ones that are living the policies that these people put in place. So we actually know their own policies better than they do.
Facts.
You know? Right. So in my opinion, I have more experience because I've been through their bullshit policies. I know that it's going to cost a fortune to put my kid through school. You know, I know these things. I know that when my kids have kids, that it's going to be almost a tuition type payment for them to have daycare. You know, like, so anyway, get involved. This is your time right now. Just get out there. I've always said, just put that phone in front of your face and make a 5-second video on Facebook and just keep doing it and just talk. You know, and people will engage. You'll find your friends. You'll find a community. Pop into your Facebook community page on Facebook every now and then for your neighborhood or whatever, and just say, hey, I hate Trump. And you'll be surprised about how many people come to your rescue, right? And that's the big thing, that I'm right here in the middle of red Florida. I made a huge stink about how much I hate Trump. I got 8647 on my front car, you know, like I walk by people, and if they say they support Trump, I call them a fucking Nazi. I'm trying to prove to people that they aren't going to hit you. These people are pathetic. They are cowards. They are 0.6% of the world population. Like, let's just fucking squeeze them and be done with it.
And we're being too nice to them, to be honest. Like, this idea of civility, it's like, no, man, civility is a lack of accountability. You know what I mean? Like, somebody told me last week, he was like, you're not nice, but you're kind. And I was like, thank you. I feel so seen, because nice is bullshit. You know what I mean? But I will have your back, and I will make sure you're okay. But I'm not fake nice. I'm not going to do that with you, you know? And so if somebody's screaming MAGA, I'm going to call him fucking Nazi too, right? And that's not everybody's cup of tea, but whatever, man. I don't really care. I'm not a cup of tea. You know what I mean? So it's fine. I'm not a beverage.
We got one shot at this, right?
Exactly.
Right. So, and then the other thing is, I'm really bad at asking for money, but we are obviously need donations to make the campaign work. MarkDavisForCongress.com. Like I said, always say that we have a lot of followers, so if we just get $2 donations,
Right.
we'll win. So just small dollar donations, and then keep them reoccurring. Like a $5 donation reoccurring every month.
Right,
is
goes a
fantastic.
long way.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, I appreciate that. And, you made a post the other day, and I was like, man, I'm so stoked. I think this is actually when I, just DM'd you, and I was like, yo, Mark, come on my podcast. But you made a post about you're not going to take if you get elected, you're not going to take the salary, and you're not going to take the health care because you want to have the same struggles with those things as your constituents, and you don't want to get a free pass with this cushy health care. And I was like, fuck yeah, Mark, that is
I'm done.
awesome.
I am done. And my point with this isn't, like I said, move up on the political stage. It's literally just to make a point, right? That you can be a pissed off father in the middle of red Florida and say enough is enough, and you can make a difference, right? And I can do it on a shoestring budget. So, and I don't care about being paid in Congress. I don't care about any of that shit. I just want to get our country back on track so I can get back just to being a father.
A less pissed off dad.
Less pissed off dad. Exactly.
Well, Mark, listen, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. We're going to have all your links and everything in the show notes so people who are listening to this can click the buttons and go right to your website and make a donation. And I love that you're not taking PAC money. I assume you're not taking APAC money because of that. And I do think that is probably one of the number one most important points right now in people's campaigns is are you taking money from APAC? And you're not. And so for people who are listening, throw Mark $2, man. Throw him $5. Make that donation. It really does go a long way. I've been talking a lot about money and politics this last week with a lot of different guests, and we do need to get money out of politics. But the reality is that in order to get the right people into politics, they need money to do that because things cost money. Websites cost money. Website hosting costs money. Shit costs money, and we all know that. If they could charge us to breathe, we'd all be like, give me $1. You know what I mean? Everything costs money. So we have to support our candidates financially so that we can get them in place to dismantle the money in politics, right? But it does take financial support from people, constituents or not, right? So I'm definitely motivated to go make a little donation because I know that, small donations add up. Some of my highest paying clients are people that have given me a little bit amount of money for a really long time. Those are my number one clients, right? So
plus it's a little bit of a numbers game too. If I can say, if my opponent, let's say they raised $300,000 already, and they've had 100 donations, but I've raised $30,000 and I've had 3,000 donations. That still makes me look good, right? So just that
100%.
number of donations just kind of helps on the scoreboard. So
it's the cosign. It's the cosign. So one last thing. Where do you see, the movement or yourself in 5 years, win or lose this race? What would be a perfect scenario for you?
Well, win. Hopefully in 5 years, I'm back here, just being a dad, and I honestly believe that you need passionate people in Congress, and if you're in there for too long, it just human nature, your passion kind of leaves. You have some outliers like Bernie Sanders. I think he's kind of been passionate this whole life.
It's a machine.
But in reality, I just kind of want to show up, lift people up, and get the hell out. And, win, that's what I want to do. Lose, I might be in Canada. I don't know.
Yeah, come to Costa Rica with your family. You'll get along just fine here. Right on. Well, Mark, thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it. I really, really do. It's been, fun chatting with you and hanging out with you. And, feel free to come back anytime if you have updates for us or whatever. We'll make sure to share your content with everybody and encourage them to follow you and show some support. If nothing else, it's a nice timeline cleanse. Whenever I'm scrolling through and I see when your post, I always laugh. And then I'm like, who said that? I'm like, oh, of course it was Mark. You know what I mean? Something ridiculous. But it always makes me giggle. And giggles are worth a lot of money these days. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to keep it a little entertaining too. So.
Yeah. when it's just nothing but bad news, I will take a funny meme or a joke or just somebody being real, right? I can't scream at my phone at the television anymore. I just want real people, you know what I mean? Just give me somebody real, for crying out loud. So, so thank you for being on the show today. Thanks to everybody listening. Please go follow Mark on social media. It'll be the highlight of your day. And if you have people in Florida, definitely share the content with them so they know about Mark and they know that he's an option. And please consider making a donation. I know it's annoying. Everybody's always like, oh, we can change the world. I just need $5. But for real, send the $5. You know what I mean? Like, you've spent $5 on worse things, like ringtones in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you can do this. So on that note, thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, please be excellent to each other. Share the content. Follow us on Substack. Please subscribe on Substack. Then I can fund some more advertising and get the podcast in front of more people. We hit 38,000 downloads this week, so thank you for your support, and looking forward to the next one. Thank you.